Time is precious, right? We all want to stay informed, but who has hours to wade through every little detail?
That's where we come in, cutting through the noise to bring you the insights that matter.
Today, we're strapping on a deep dive into the world of watches. Specifically, the 2024 Seiko Presage Craftsmanship series, SPB445J1, that's a mouthful, I know, the Arita porcelain dial watch.
A beautiful watch, and we've got all the details laid out, ready to break it down.
Our mission, to understand what makes this new Seiko so special, how it evolved, the craftsmanship, and where it fits among all the other timepieces vying for your wrist.
Sounds good to me. Let's jump in.
So Seiko has played with porcelain dials before, right? Wasn't this their first rodeo?
Not quite. They actually dipped their toes into the porcelain pool back in 2022.
Ah, okay. The SPB293J1 and SPB319J1, right? I remember seeing those.
Exactly. Those models laid the groundwork. Introduced the world to Arita porcelain dials in the Presage line.
And Arita porcelain is a pretty big deal, isn't it? Centuries of tradition behind it.
Huge. And Seiko partnered with a master craftsman, Hiroyuki Hashiguchi, and the artisans in Arita. Real commitment to quality.
So those 2022 releases, were they kind of a test run then? See how people reacted?
Maybe a bit of that. But more importantly, it ties into Seiko's whole Kaizen philosophy,
Kaizen, remind me.
Constant improvement, never settling, always striving to make things better. It's in their DNA.
So this new SPB445J1, it's not a total reinvention, more like a refinement.
Right. Refining what worked, tweaking the details to take it up a notch.
Evolution, not revolution.
Exactly. Evolution, not revolution. They're not afraid to iterate, and you see that in this release.
Speaking of evolution, one thing that caught my eye was the comparison to the Credor Eichi II.
Ah, yes. An interesting comparison considering the price difference is, well, significant.
Yeah, the Eichi II is in a whole other league price-wise, but design-wise.
There's a definite nod to the Eichi II, particularly in those simple bar indices, those elegant markers.
So Seiko's taking cues from their top-tier models, bringing some of that high-end DNA down to a more accessible price point.
Exactly. Makes you wonder, is this a trend we'll see more of? Affordable luxury borrowing from hot horology.
Makes sense, though, bringing a touch of that luxury feel to a wider audience.
Absolutely.
So, on this new Presage, the most noticeable change seems to be those bar indices. They replace the Roman numerals from the previous models. What's the thinking there?
Well, the Roman numerals, they had a more, traditional feel, maybe a little busier on the dial. The bar indices clean things up.
Gives it a more modern look.
Exactly. More contemporary, and I think a more understated elegance. Really echoes the Eichi II's aesthetic.
Less is more sometimes.
For sure. Less is more. And then, of course, you've got the addition of the 24-hour subdial at 6 o'clock.
Right, with those cool Breguet numerals. That little detail adds a lot of character. What's the function of a 24-hour subdial, by the way?
Well, it lets you track a second time zone, which can be handy for travelers or folks working across different time zones. But honestly, it's as much about aesthetics as function.
Yeah, the Breguet numerals add a touch of classic watchmaking to the mix. A nice contrast with the modern bar indices.
A bit of visual tension. Keeps it interesting. And then there's the dial itself, the curved surface.
The way they describe it, it sounds almost sculptural. How does that affect the porcelain?
It's key. The curvature adds so much depth. Creates these subtle plays of light and shadow on the bright white porcelain.
So it's not just a flat white disc. There's nuance to it.
Exactly. Nuance and depth. Otherwise, it could risk looking a bit sterile.
And of course, you've got the sapphire crystal protecting it all. Scratch resistant and clear as can be.
Naturally, you wouldn't expect anything less at this level.
Now let's talk about the hands. The descriptions mentioned blue hands. That feels familiar, like I've seen that before in Presage models.
You have. The blue hands are kind of a signature for the Craftsmanship series. That pop of color against the white dial.
I like that. And what about that crescent moon counterweight on the second's hand? I always thought that was a cool detail.
A signature Seiko touch. Adds a bit of personality, And don't forget, the subtle bend at the tips of the minute and seconds hands.
Oh, right. So they follow the curve of the dial.
Precision. Ensuring the hands can sweep over the dial without any interference, and it just adds to the refined look.
It all comes back to legibility, right? Making sure you can read the time easily. The contrast between the blue, black, and white must make it very clear.
Absolutely. Legibility is paramount. You want a watch that's both beautiful and functional.
Form and function in perfect harmony.
That's the goal.
Now, onto the case. They've made some tiny tweaks to the dimensions compared to the 2022 models. Fractions of a millimeter here and there. Honestly, is that even noticeable?
On the wrist? Probably not. We're talking 0.1 millimeters here.
So why bother?
It's about achieving that perfect visual balance. Those tiny adjustments, they add up. Create a more refined overall aesthetic.
So it's about the feeling it evokes, rather than something you can measure.
Exactly. You might not be able to pinpoint it, but you'll feel it.
The little things matter.
Ow.
Speaking of little things, I see they stuck with the 20mm lug width.
Always a good sign. Means you've got tons of strap options. Easy to switch things up.
Leather, NATO, rubber, whatever suits your mood.
Versatility is key. And don't forget the super hard coating on the case and bracelet.
Ah, yes. Scratch resistance. Essential for a watch you'll be wearing every day.
And 100 meters of water resistance.
Pretty standard, but good to have.
Enough for everyday life. Accidental splashes, rain, no problem.
Now, the bracelet itself got a bit of an upgrade, too.
Those polished vertical bars, they're a bit more prominent now.
And centered, right. All in the details.
Seiko is all about refining those details. The rest of the links are still brushed, providing a nice contrast. Prevents the bracelet from being too flashy.
Understated elegance.
Understated elegance.
All right, let's talk movement, the engine room of this watch. What can you tell us about the Seiko 6R5H?
Well, it's a workhorse movement. Reliable, accurate, and known for its long power reserve.
How long are we talking?
About 72 hours.
Whoa, that's impressive. You could take it off on Friday and it'll still be ticking come Monday.
Exactly. No need to reset the time every weekend.
With this movement also powers the 24-hour hand we were talking about earlier.
That's right. And it gives you hacking seconds, which is a nice feature.
Hacking seconds.
Means you can stop the seconds hand when setting the time. Ensures you get it perfectly synchronized.
Nice. Precision is key.
Absolutely. This movement operates at 21,600 vibrations per hour.
That's like the heartbeat of the watch, right?
In a way, yes. Determines the smooth sweep of the seconds hand.
And you can see it all through the display case back.
Even though it's not decorated, it's still cool to see the mechanics at work.
For sure. Adds to the appreciation of the watchmaking. So let's zoom out a bit. Talk about the market, the competition, the information mentioned. You could put this new Presage on a leather strap, which makes sense.
Definitely. A classic look. Opens up more style possibilities.
Dress it up, dress it down.
Exactly. And when you look at the competition in this price range, you've got some heavy hitters. Nomos, Longines, Sin, some Tudor models even.
All strong brands with their own identities.
Yeah.
So where does this Seiko fit in? What makes it stand out?
I think the porcelain dial is the real differentiator.
Yeah, it's not something you see every day.
Not at all. It's unique. A blend of Japanese craftsmanship and watchmaking. You're not just buying a watch, you're buying a piece of art.
Art you can wear on your wrist.
Exactly. And I think this watch, with all its refinements, sits at the higher end of what Seiko offers.
It's got that premium feel.
Yeah.
But of course, with that comes a slightly higher price tag.
Yeah, $1,900, up from the $1,700 of the previous models. At that price point, people will be comparing it to a lot of other options.
A lot of choices in that sub-$2,000 range.
For sure. But I think this Seiko offers something special.
It's a tough decision. So much to consider.
It always is.
All right, let's wrap this up. This 2024 Seiko Presage, it's a clear evolution of what came before. They took a good thing and made it even better. The Kaizen principle in action.
Couldn't have said it better myself. They looked at the Credor Eichi II, borrowed some design elements, and brought those down to a more accessible level.
Subtle but impactful changes throughout. That porcelain dial is stunning, and the added 24-hour subdial adds a cool complication.
And don't forget those tiny adjustments to the case and bracelet. They all contribute to a more refined look.
And in a market filled with heritage brands and technical marvels, this Seiko stands out with its unique blend of art and watchmaking.
It's a watch that makes you think about tradition, innovation, and the value of craftsmanship.
So, here's something to ponder. If Seiko can successfully bring this level of artistry to a watch at this price point, what does that mean for the future of affordable luxury? What other surprising combinations of art and engineering are waiting to be discovered? It's exciting to think about what's next.
It is. There's a whole world of possibilities out there.
And on that note, we'll leave you to contemplate the ever-evolving landscape of horology.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Until then, keep exploring.